August is the month most gardeners quietly waste. Not because they stopped caring, but because no one ever told them what this window can actually do. The spring beds are winding down, the summer crops look exhausted, and by the second week of the month, most people mentally shelve the garden and start counting down to April. Here is what the sharpest gardeners already know. August is one of the single best planting months of the entire year. Not despite the heat, because of what happens right after it. Every seed you drop into the soil this month matures in September and October. When the nights turn cool, the days shorten, and the same vegetables that turned bitter and bolted in June come back sweet, crisp, and honestly better than anything you can buy. Cold makes vegetables taste better. That is not a gardening slogan. That is plant biology. When temperatures drop, cool season plants convert their stored starches into sugars as an internal antifreeze response. And that sugar is what lands on your tongue. August planting is what puts you in line for exactly that harvest. 15 plants belong in your garden right now. Number 4 gets sweeter every single time the temperature falls. The gardeners who planted it in August are eating the best version of it in November, while everyone else gave up back in spring. And number 15 is the fastest thing on this list. It will be on your plate before September is even over. 15 plants, one window. Let's go. Number 1, radishes. Most people file radishes under spring vegetables. The gardeners growing the best ones are planting in August, and here is why. Spring radishes are racing the calendar. Cold soil slows germination early, then rising heat triggers bolting. The plant throws up a flower stalk. The root goes hollow and pithy, and the flavor turns aggressively sharp. August radishes have the opposite arc. Warm soil wakes the seed fast. 4 to 5 days to germination for most varieties, and then falling September temperatures work with the plant instead of against it. What you pull is crisp, bright, and only gently spicy, miles ahead of anything raised in June heat. Days to harvest, 22 to 28. That means radishes on your table by early September. Sow a short row every 10 days from now through mid-September for a continuous supply straight into October. One rule you cannot break: pull them on time. A radish left in the ground past its window goes woody and bitter within days. Mark the date, pull on schedule, and taste what a radish is supposed to be. But that is a warm-up compared to what the next one does when the heat finally breaks. Number 2, spinach. Every extension office in the country quietly recommends spinach as a late summer crop, not a spring one, and there is a reason. Spring spinach is a race the plant almost always loses. A few weeks of growth, then long days and rising heat, then a flower stalk and bitter leaves. August spinach flips the story. Seeds go in while the soil is still warm, germination in 5 to 7 days, and the plant establishes itself in the last stretch of summer. Then fall arrives, and spinach finally gets the weather it was designed for. The leaves that grow in October are sweeter, more tender, and deeper in flavor than anything spring produced. One catch: spinach seed sulks above 85 degrees soil temperature, which is called thermodormancy, the seeds simply refusing to wake up. That is why you aim for the second half of August when the soil has started to ease. Reach for Bloomsdale Long Standing or any packet labeled Slow Bolt. Pick outer leaves and leave the crown growing, and one plant will feed you for weeks. Now, if you thought spinach was the redemption story, wait until you hear what August does for the crop that quit on you in June. Number 3, lettuce. Every gardener who battled bitter, bolted lettuce in July deserves a second season, and August is where you get it. The trick is beating that same thermodormancy. Lettuce seed above 80 degrees actively refuses to germinate, which is why so many summer sowings never even come up. The fix is boringly simple and completely effective. Sow into a bed with afternoon shade, soak it deeply before planting, and lay a light cloth or shade cover over the seeded row for the first 5 to 7 days to keep the surface cool. Once the seedlings are 2 inches tall, they take the leftover heat in stride, and by the time they head up in cool September and October air, the leaves are sweet, crisp, and completely bolt-free. Look for anything labeled slow bolt or heat tolerant. Jericho, Muir, and Nevada are dependable picks. Cut outer leaves as they size up and the plant keeps feeding you for weeks. And that mechanism, the cold flipping starch into sugar, is exactly what makes the next plant on this list the most dramatic vegetable in the fall garden. Number 4. Kale. Kale has the most theatrical relationship with cold of anything on this list. When temperatures dip below freezing, not just cool, actually freezing, kale converts stored starches into sugars as a survival response. And the leaves that come after a hard frost are noticeably sweeter, more tender, and milder than anything the same plant made in August. This is not subtle. A leaf harvested in November after 2 or 3 frost events genuinely tastes like a different vegetable than the same variety cut in September. Farmers market growers know it. Chefs know it. The people cleaning out the kale table by 9 a.m. on an October Saturday absolutely know it. August is what puts you in that November harvest. Seeds go in now, plants build strength through September, and by October, the frost starts doing the flavor work for you. Lacinato, the dark, strappy dinosaur kale, and red Russian are the 2 most recommended for fall harvest quality. Pick outer leaves, leave the center intact, and one plant produces into November across most of the country and into December and January in zones 7 and warmer. And speaking of that same cold sweetening trick, the next one is where it really surprises people. Number 5, carrots. August planted carrots taste better than spring planted carrots. That is not opinion, it is starch-to-sugar chemistry. Cold October and November nights trigger the same conversion that sweetens kale, and a carrot pulled after a run of cold nights is dramatically sweeter than anything lifted in June. It is one of those first bite moments that makes you question every carrot you have ever bought. The one challenge is germination in late summer heat, because carrot seed needs the top layer of soil to stay consistently moist, and August sun can dry that layer within hours. Here is the fix almost no beginner is told. After sowing, lay a strip of burlap or a plain wooden board directly over the seeded row. It traps surface moisture through the hottest part of the day. Peek underneath every morning, and the second you see tiny green threads, pull the covering off immediately. For fall planting, choose Danvers or Nantes. They are shorter, stockier, and push through average soil without needing perfectly loose, deep beds. So now, harvest sweet in October and November. And if you want the one plant that pulls off both the August heat and the November frost without missing a beat, keep listening. Number 6. Swiss chard. Chard does something almost no other vegetable manages. It thrives in August heat and keeps producing right through November frost. Most cool season greens pick a lane, spring or fall. Chard runs both. It does not bolt in summer the way spinach does, and it does not fold at the first frost. It just keeps going. Plant now and harvest from October into November, and in zones 7 and warmer, straight through December. Here is the thing most people only figure out after growing it. Chard leaves and chard stems are effectively 2 ingredients. Leaves wilt in a hot pan in under 2 minutes, exactly like spinach. The thick stems want 4 to 5 minutes more, so separate them at the cutting board. Start the stems first, drop the leaves in at the end. One plant, 2 textures, 1 dinner. The bright lights, or rainbow variety, pushes stems in deep red, orange, yellow, and white. one of the most visually beautiful vegetables you will ever grow, and it tastes as good as it looks. And if chard is the marathon runner, the next one on the list is the sprinter. Number 7. Arugula. Arugula is the fastest salad green on this list, 21 to 25 days for most varieties. Sow in August, and you are eating fresh peppery leaves before September is fully underway. But speed is only half of the story. Arugula grown into cooling fall temperatures produces a more balanced flavor than summer arugula. That aggressive peppery bite that overwhelms people in hot weather softens as nights drop, leaving a clean, nutty, gently spicy green that works on salad, on pizza, on eggs, on almost anything. The mistake nearly everyone makes is letting the leaves get too large. Arugula at 2 to 3 inches is sweet and mild. Arugula at 5 or 6 inches is fierce enough to hijack an entire dish. Harvest small, cut with scissors about an inch above the soil, and new growth returns in 10 to 12 days. Sow a small patch now and another 2 weeks later for a continuous supply from late August into October. Now, here is a plant most gardeners undercount because they only think of one harvest when there are actually two. Number 8. Beets. Most Americans think of beets as a single crop, the root. Beet growers know one planting is two harvests. The greens up top are edible from 30 days onward, weeks before the roots size up, and they taste like a mild, slightly earthy spinach. Sautéed with garlic and olive oil, they are one of the simplest and most satisfying meals the fall garden delivers. The roots follow at 55 to 70 days, ready in October when cool weather has naturally sweetened them, because beets store starch far more efficiently in cold air, and an August-planted beet pulled in October is genuinely sweeter than the same variety grown in spring. Pull when the shoulder of the root sitting at the soil surface is 2 to 3 inches across. Go past that and the texture turns woody and the sweetness drops. Chioggia, the Italian variety with concentric pink and white rings inside, is one of the most visually striking vegetables in any fall garden. Plant it now and slice one open in October. It looks like something out of a design studio, and if beets fix a spring failure, the next crop fixes one of the most common failures in the American vegetable garden. Number 9. Broccoli. Broccoli has a timing problem that trips up most home gardeners. Spring planting runs headlong into June heat. The plant bolts before the head tightens. The gardener decides broccoli is difficult, and it disappears from the rotation. Broccoli is not difficult. It just needs to mature in cool weather, and August is engineered for exactly that. Start seeds indoors now. Transplant-ready seedlings appear in 3 to 4 weeks, and those transplants, set out in late August or early September, finish their heads in October, when 55-degree air keeps the buds tight and concentrates the flavor. A broccoli head developed in cool October air is crisp and sweet, nothing like the loose, yellowed, woody heads that come off stressed spring plants. And here is the payoff nobody tells you about. After you cut the main head, do not pull the plant. Side shoots keep pushing from leaf axils for weeks, smaller than the crown but just as flavorful. Look for Belstar, Calabrese, or anything labeled 60 to 70 days because those mature fast enough to beat first frost across most of the continental U.S. Speaking of speed, this next one is even faster. Number 10. Mustard greens. Mustard greens mature in 30 to 40 days, faster than almost anything else on this list. Sow in August and you have bold cooking greens ready before September closes out. Most Americans know mustard greens from the Southern tradition, slow cooked with smoked meat, deeply savory, gently spicy. One of the great dishes of American cooking. But young mustard leaves picked in September, once cool weather softens their sharpness, are also excellent raw, mild enough for salads at baby size. peppery, and vibrant in a way that lifts an entire fall bowl. Timing matters here. Mustard greens grown through peak summer heat come out aggressively sharp, too sharp for most palates. Plant in the second half of August. Let them establish in the last of summer heat, and let them mature into September's cooling nights. That cooler finish is where the balance between spice and sweetness shows up. Harvest young, leave the crown, and one planting hands you cuttings into October. Now, the next one is almost invisible in most American home gardens, which is exactly why it is on this list. Number 11, bok choy. Bok choy is one of the most overlooked crops in American home gardening and one of the most rewarding to grow in fall. Baby varieties are ready at 30 days, full-size varieties in 45 to 60. And either way, an August sowing gives you a real harvest well before first frost. Anyone who has eaten it in Chinese-American cooking, the crisp white stem, dark green leaf, on stir-fries and in soups, will taste the difference immediately from a home-grown head because that crunch and sweetness fade within days of harvest, and grocery store bok choy is almost never truly fresh. Two things matter for August planting: shade and moisture. Bok choy seed does not reliably germinate above 80 degrees, so pick a spot with afternoon shade and water consistently until seedlings establish. After that, it moves fast in cooling temperatures, and by late September or October, it is at its sweetest. Cool weather bok choy honestly tastes like a different vegetable than anything raised in summer heat. Now, the next one is the vegetable most American shoppers walk right past because they have no idea what it is. Number 12, kohlrabi. Kohlrabi confuses American shoppers on sight. A round, swollen stem with leaves shooting out in every direction. Not quite a root, not quite a bulb. Most people assume it is complicated. It is not. Peel it, slice it, eat it raw. The flavor sits somewhere between a broccoli stem and an apple. Mild, slightly sweet, surprisingly crisp. No cooking required for the best version of it. Is also excellent roasted, where it takes on a nuttiness closer to a mild turnip. August is its ideal window. It matures in 45 to 60 days and prefers to size up in the cooler weeks of September. Pull when the bulb is 2 to 3 inches across. Let it grow larger and it turns woody and pithy, and the flavor tips in the wrong direction. White Vienna and purple Vienna are the two varieties on every seed rack. They taste effectively identical, and the purple one simply looks better on the plate. And speaking of underestimated vegetables, the next one has an image problem in this country that is completely unfair. Number 13, turnips. Turnips get dismissed in America because most people have only ever eaten large, old ones, starchy, fibrous, and aggressively sharp. That version is a storage turnip, not a fresh turnip. A turnip pulled at golf ball size, 2 inches across, from an August planting maturing in October, is a completely different vegetable. Mild, slightly sweet, crisp enough to eat raw like a radish. And before the root is ready, the greens hand you a first harvest. Turnip greens are edible from 30 days on, 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the roots, and they cook like mustard greens, slightly peppery, substantial, and among the most nutritious greens in the fall garden. One planting, 2 crops, 6 weeks from seed to first harvest. The variety that has changed the most minds is Hakare, the Japanese salad turnip, small, smooth, white, and mild enough to eat straight out of the ground. Find it at specialty nurseries or order the seeds online. Plant now and taste what a turnip actually is. Now, if you thought kale was cold tough, the next crop is the true iron plant of the fall garden. Number 14, collard greens. Collards are the toughest leafy vegetable available to American home gardeners. Hardier than kale, more cold tolerant than chard, more forgiving than almost anything else in the fall bed. In zone 7 and warmer, which covers the American South, much of the Mid-Atlantic, and parts of the Pacific Coast. An August planting produces through fall and into winter. First frost does not end them, it improves them, because cold triggers the same starch-to-sugar conversion that sweetens kale, and in collards, that conversion is pronounced. A plant that was bold and slightly bitter in September turns rich, sweet, and deeply savory after the first hard November frost. That is exactly why collards cooked after first frost taste different from collards cooked in September, and southern gardeners have known that for generations. Space plants 18 inches apart, they get large, and harvest the lower outer leaves first while the plant keeps pushing upward from the center for months. In zones 5 and 6, a hard freeze eventually calls the season, but not before 2 to 3 months of the best greens the fall garden makes. And the last one on this list is the fastest, and the one you will actually reach for every single day. Number 15. Scallions. Scallions are the most practical fall crop on this list. Not the most dramatic, not the most surprising, but the one you will reach for in the kitchen more than almost anything else you grow. Fresh green onions on scrambled eggs, in salads, on soup, on anything grilled. Having them steps from the kitchen door from late September through November is one of those quiet things that makes home gardening feel worth it every single day. Seeds go in now, sprouts appear in 7 to 10 days, ready to harvest around 60 days. Here is the technique that multiplies the harvest. Do not pull the whole plant. Snip the green tops with scissors about an inch above the soil, leave the white base in the ground, and new tops grow back in 10 to 14 days. One August planting gives you 2 to 3 cuttings before the season closes, sometimes more in milder zones. Scallions also ask almost nothing from you. A 6-inch strip along the edge of any bed, regular water, no special care. The simplest crop on this list, and one of the most useful 15 vegetables, all of them going into the ground this month, all of them handing you a real harvest in September, October, and November, when the garden feels finished to everyone else and yours is quietly hitting its stride. August is not the end of the gardening season. It is the beginning of the best part of it. Which one are you planting first? Drop it in the comments and add your zone if you can. Someone gardening in your exact climate is reading those answers right now. Subscribe. More of this every week.